Hey guys, this here is technically part 2 of the Rot Lot. While this story does involve the same players, it's not the Star Wars story this time around. But without further ado, let's get into it. This story takes place sometime after the disaster that was the Star Wars campaign. Many of the main players from part 1 are also in this tale, but a few new faces have also joined. This time, the lot had chose to play a campaign based on Fallout. It would take place in our hometown, but with a dash of fictional bombing, and it was hosted at many different places, anywhere from the dorm of a local college, to my humble homestead, and finally back at Mando's house. This location change caused a small bit of problems, but we all tried our best, and there were many players involved with this campaign. But for now, we'll start with the group who started this tale. Odin, who was the GM, was a man of strong heart, but had slapdash plans. Mando, who was the closest thing to Gaston, if Gaston could read, played as a merc. Manho, well, his name says it all, he was also a merc. Sweet, which, if the group was a deck of cards, he would be the Joker. He played as an old man by the name of Mugukit, Nikol Bolas, who was a chem-addicted raider. Prince, who just wanted to play the game, and was playing a ghoul. Quiet, who was a sniper with a goal that was never revealed. And finally, Big Bill, or BB, who was played by myself. He also had a secret, but it didn't stay that way. Odin popped us into a dusty part of town, and we were all randomly just standing around chatting, and no one's characters knew each other, except for Quiet and BB. And this is where the first blunder happened. BB walked up to Mugukit and patted him on the back. "Hey old-timer, how are you?" His response was to scream his name and bash BB on the head, making an audible ting, which left a dent in BB's head, as Mugukit leaned over and said, "I know what you are, metal boy, but I likes ya. I'm gonna call you Ting Ting." The others saw this, but they didn't pay attention to it because they were plotting. Prince was asking around for locations of any other ghouls, in the hopes that he might find a safe place to smuggle others to safety. Mando and Bolas sniffed around for some place to buy or steal weapons, as well as chems. And as luck would have it, we all found some of the things that we were looking for in a black market that was ran by ghouls. And ghouls were second-class citizens in this town, and were looked down upon by most of the town. The weapon shop was in a basement with one way in and out, and we thought it would be best to go into the shop, one at a time so as to not overcrowd it, just in case something screwy happened. Prince asked some questions first, and got a few answers, but most were just heartbreaking news. Ghoul safe houses were the best he could hope to find in these parts, unless there was a change in management, was what he was told. Bolas pressed everyone and anyone that he met for money or chems, and I have to give it to him. He was in character, but one thing I do have to say about him was that he likes to play the game. Not like play his part, more of knowing it's a game, and that there are little to no repercussions to anyone's actions. Another story for another day, but he would often do things that would put others in jeopardy, and have justifications that came off as cold and downright condescending. And this is where I made my second blunder. I asked the weapon shop for grenades, and then I slipped Odin a note. I asked him if he would allow me to tamper with the fuses of those grenades, so when the pin got pulled, they would explode sooner than it should. It worked, and I had a few of them done up in this way. Mando, somewhat in character, started to trash talk the ghoul running the shop. I'm still not sure what the point of this was, but he didn't walk away with anything but some ammo, and he continued to insult the man behind the counter with slurs until the side door opened, which 2 large ghouls armed to the teeth stepped out of. At that point, I was leaving the shop, but I chose to drag Mando out of this kill pit and telling him to drop it. The light shined as we stepped out of the basement, and one of the ghouls saw my secret in my eyes and exclaimed, "Holy crap, that's a synth!" But surprisingly just let us leave at that point. Manho made it a point to get as much info on the place as possible by chatting up every female NPC that he could find. The group had given him the name Manho, as Odin had saw it fit to liken him to that of a whore, meaning his starting perks gave him an advantage to chat up the opposite sex. He played along, claiming that his character was well endowed, which was just great, but misfortune would soon come to bite most of us in the bum. On the way to a mission to clear out a bandit camp, Bolas started to talk about his master plan. He wanted to get a power armor harness and make a way to inject chems directly into himself, hands-free. And this group had a very bad habit of challenging each other. Odin would often let someone force another player to do things that they didn't want to do by using charisma rolls to talk them into doing things, which came into play later. But we tried to sneak into the camp, but we came across a minefield. Manho approached the first mine with the idea to disarm it. Bolas spoke up and said jokingly, "Don't screw it up." Odin asked how we were approaching it, and Manho tried to describe his actions when Bolas cut in and said laughingly, "He tried to screw it." Odin laughed and rolled a hidden d20, and exclaimed that part of Manho's package had been blown off as a result of the mine. This is why we can't have nice things. But that's it for this one. It obviously doesn't end here, so stay tuned for the next part. But in any case, guys, that's the end of the story. Thanks for listening, and as always, have a good one.